Good, how are you?
Good.
I call this meeting of the Perryton Independent School District to order. Let the record show that the quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Please bow with me for a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, just thank you for letting us gather here tonight to go over the business of Perryton ISD. Just thank you for all the blessings you bestowed on our district, and just help us to make wise decisions for our district. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Do we have anybody signed up for open forum?
In person. Darren?
Darren?
No, sir.
Okay. All righty. Well, with that, this board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meeting Act, 551.074, discussing personnel or hearing complaints against personnel.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna fix that one day. It goes good.
Call this meeting back to order at 7:18. All right. First on the agenda, we have the superintendent's report.
Okay, the first thing we want to talk about here, guys, is summer school. I think it went well enough. The Kinder and Wright both did virtual instead of the virtual plan, and I'm guessing maybe 20, 25 kids did that. Williams did face-to-face, and they had on average 45 kids a day. Somewhere right in there. Kids were happy to be there. It's really kind of an odd deal. Kids have to be at summer school, which you never hear about it. They were just loving it. And I think the teachers were also. At the junior high, it was probably not that high, about 25, 27 kids, I think, on average, what they were getting. And then at the high school, again, about 20, 25 on average. And then out of top of Texas, I think they recovered somewhere around 20 credits. And I think they got other people that could still do that. And I think she gave some other graduated, but they have their reports, and it has the exact numbers in their reports. But probably not what we wanted, and especially what I heard from the commissioner today, that the drop, most of our I don't want higher end kids, it didn't look like it affected them very much with the coronavirus and being out of school. But our middle to at-risk kids, according to their data, it really affected them. And that's where we had to pick up the gap. And possible plans for starting school next year. Woo. We listened to the commissioner again today, and today he didn't tell us a whole lot about face-to-face instruction. He told us more about instruction, distance learning again. And the governor put out the day before that if kids didn't want to go back to school, they wouldn't have to go back to school. So we did a survey. We sent a survey out there today, and I think it showed that we probably have 2 to 4% of our population that would say they're afraid to send their kids back to school. So we know we're going to have distance learning, remote learning of some sort or some type.
Does the governor have a plan on how to count PDA?
Yes, that's what
levels of, well, I didn't want to go, but I really did, so that's what happened.
Yeah, well, they are going to do truancy. We did hear that today. So, again, they're going to have to prove that they're doing the work. He's wanting more of an accountable system, and that's why we're going to show you a system. We're trying to figure out what is going to be the accountable system so that we know work is turned in, we know the teacher did it. I mean, we're looking at a system right now.
Well, we just kind of threw our hands up at the end of last year, which we pretty much had to.
Yeah, we just threw our hands up.
We just kind of got caught by surprise.
Yeah.
But it's got to be, you can't make the argument that the classroom instruction is not effective. I mean, you won't even try to do that.
No.
So, I mean, I don't understand this at all. So I don't understand the delay on announcing school's gonna start.
Well, it seems like that's been the hope. Every time we've done anything, and then it's the talk in education now, just wait till tomorrow and it'll change on you. So you have to make plans because the commissioner turns around or the governor turns around and they say something.
It's a little hard on school districts. They can do issues, contrasting statements every other day and doesn't help anybody.
Right. I mean, so we live day by day and reports. And Thursday, I think they're supposed to give us more on what face to face will look like. But here's some of my issue of what we're looking at. Masks. Do we buy more masks or not? If we have to give every kid a mask, do they have to wear them? The governor said no the other day, that they won't be required to. So locally, I'm wondering if we say you do, or we possibly just do it between classes when you change the classes, or when you're moving. Washing hand stations. Do we have to have more hand washing stations around? Gloves. Do we have to supply gloves for people that want them? And the state is sending us some of these things. Training of staff and students on one of the things is how to wash your hands, which is kind of weird. Temps, they did tell us that we wouldn't have to do temps, because I can imagine already testing every kid coming to school every morning, how long that would be before we could actually be in class. Distance learning, right now in summer school, it's 6 feet. You're supposed to keep 6 feet, no more than 10 kids. So, they prefer us teaching outdoors rather than indoors, gyms, cafeterias, auditoriums, larger spaces. We already talked to you a little bit about disinfection. If, let's say you do have a case, then where do we go if we do have a case? We've talked to places now that there's something out there that they can come and spray. Of course, they're going to charge you like we saw those prices, but it's supposed to be good for 90 days. That the virus can't get on that surface. The virus can't get on that surface again.
Sorry.
But if you did that, you would have to do it 4 times a year. So we're investigating that.
James, did this commissioner or did the governor, has anybody said that when they will have an answer to this? I mean,
They keep putting it off. I mean, every time we think we're going to get an answer, they don't come up with it.
I understand they're counting more cases, but I mean, sooner or later it's going to have to give some guidance here on what we're supposed to do, because I mean, imagine it's not masks and gloves and everything else right now, but I mean, it's not going to not affect us the way teachers can teach kids.
Yeah, well, the problem right now is we're planning on face to face, okay?
Yeah,
mostly face to face. But
I think it's going to go away, would be my guess.
But we got to have a backup plan for those parents that say, I still don't want to send my kid. And you still
2 to 4%, you're probably going to have that. Even if this wasn't going on, you're going to probably have that percentage.
Yeah, I'm still going to have that percentage. So we got a plan to have a good method of delivering that instruction, a method we can trust, which he's going to, Darren's going to show you a little clip or something about that. So we're already looking at different platforms that would work better than what we used at the end of this year. I think it needs to be a hybrid model. Even if we do distance learning, I think it needs to be okay. You can do that, but you got to come check in every Friday or whatever the case may be, so that we're keeping up with their learning.
Of course, sorry, go ahead.
No. Well, one thing I was going to say, I want to do everything we can to protect our kids, but I personally don't feel that masks are effective in the classroom setting. I think it's a waste. There's no way you can socially distance a classroom of first graders and expect masks to help. So unless it's mandated, I would be all about making masks a choice. If parents want their kids wearing a mask, by all means. Now, I will say this, there's even a possibility that we're going to have to do a health screening on every kid when they come to school. We do them at United every day. It really doesn't take that long. But I would right now start looking for a digital thermometer for every classroom, because once they mandate it, they're going to be on back order until Christmas.
Yeah.
So get them while the getting's good. It wouldn't be, maybe not even every classroom, maybe every grade level, but, our health screenings at United you can do
in a matter of seconds, literally. It's the same questions every day, scan your temperature, and you move on.
Yeah.
So-
But I think we're gonna have to come up with a plan.
We're gonna have to come up with a bunch of digital thermometers. I'd give them out.
Okay, so that's a good deal, because let's let them give me some direction to go ahead and order them. Because, I mean, it's probably be about $1,000 probably orders. Shields, carts, students stay in the room when teachers move. Starting school when kids are gathering, how do we keep them from being in those gathering spots? Lunchtime, how do you keep them from being in the gathering spots? Mask, I'm thinking about, like, I carry my mask around with me everywhere. If we just told parents, you gotta supply the mask, and it's gotta be,
Make it a choice.
you know, a reusable one. Quarantine of student staff, guys, that's coming up already. Okay, we do have a kid that has COVID-19 and they've been in our school. You know, of course we gotta disinfect, but they stay home for 14 days. Employees, same way. Do they come down with it? Do we go back to the Family Care Act? You know, if they have to self-quarantine, I mean, there's a lot of rough water out there still of what we have to do. And then, okay, we have some teachers that are doing face-to-face, some doing virtual. Do we pick and choose who they are? You know, or do we let the teachers choose? I want to be a virtual teacher. I want to be a face-to-face teacher. How do we select that? How do we make that happen? And then they're talking about the Family First Act and the COVID Act, which deals with FMLA again. So those are all the things that are in front of us that we got to get planned before that thing hits us.
I think if you have 4%, I mean, it's not that I don't doubt what maybe do. But they're not real concerns. What about social distancing in a classroom setting where it turns out face to face? Because you may just have to do it all from school. I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping all this. I mean, I'm dealing with this in a lot of other work situations coming this fall. I think I do hope and pray it goes away. So, but we seem to be running really scared right now. So I don't know. I just know if you give certain amount of kids the chance to not show up, some will take it. So.
Yeah, well, the two methods they're talking about on the distance learning or remote learning is one, you actually use a camera and you video the teacher teaching, and they can actually sort of like live streaming the class, and the kids getting it at home and still getting the same instruction. Or the other one is,
are they live streaming the kid?
yeah, good question. And then the next one is, okay, you do that and then you send it home, and then they can do it at their choice when they want to, and then turn stuff back. It's all going to come back to accountability again, and that was our problem.
Yes.
That was our problem with what we did this spring. So we're looking at systems, and hopefully you're going to hear a little bit more about them, but those are the things ahead of us.
What I was going to say is I don't think it'll be us deciding that we should provide a distance learning option for our students. I think the governor is going to mandate that. I don't think that'll change. We're going to mandate that for people that have a genuine fear of their kid returning to school, and I feel strongly that it will be mandated, and we'll have to have some form of distance learning for some kids.
I don't mind preparing for it. It just seems like it's
Yeah. It's not my preference.
It's just blown out of proportion. If you look at the statistics on young people and threats to kids, it's almost nil, right? I mean, they're saying under 24, it's more like getting a chance by hit by one of Mike's superhuman ice balls out there rather than dying of COVID. So, I mean, as we get older, okay, then it's a risk. But for the kids, I mean, we're really scaring ourselves here.
Yeah, and like I say, we're going to follow the instructions of what the face-to-face is going to look like, which I think there'll be some underlying things of this is what you do face-to-face.
I'll try to stop being skeptical here.
It's difficult.
Very difficult. You have no idea.
And, but like I say, our plan is we've got a plan for both, because I think we're going to have a little bit of both.
I think it's inevitable.
It's inevitable. All right, that's what I have on that.
Okay.
Resignations.
No resignations today?
Yeah, we did have one. DARS,
The ones that we have, like, David,
yeah, Davis.
Dave resigned the day after the last board meeting, so.
But
So
we
they
have them on the
officially
list.
did it the
they
day after
officially
the last.
resigned, so-
Because we didn't read their name at the last meeting because we were waiting on official.
Yeah.
So they have
Darren Davis.
officially resigned
Yeah,
now.
they have officially, the Davis has officially resigned, so that was in that resume.
Okay.
Yeah, Todd has officially resigned too. Todd, why? We had to wait on that one.
Okay. On to the CFO's report, Mr. Cowell.
First is our disbursements report, starts on page 43 in your book there. The computer checks for the month of June, there's one page of those. And then on the next page, the district written checks for the month of June, there's 10 pages of those. See that? And then on page page 56 starts our complete disbursements report for the month of May. 17 pages 1 through 17 of those. Okay, next is our financial report for the month of May 2020. Cash position in total, there you can see on that first page, on page 74, 531,667. These are reconciled balances. Our general operating funds on the next page, 75. See our 217,748. And then CDs at that date of 9,249,000, and the schedule of those CDs is on the next page, on page 76. Interest and sinking funds of 1,175,758 includes CDs of the same amount, 1,175,758. Same page, on page 78. Cafeteria funds of 35,206.87. No CDs. Special education funds of 210,789.86. No CDs there. Activity funds accounts of 376,316.08. CDs on page 84 include 310,992.60. Our capital projects fund is a CD of 81,117.10. A Ranger Roundup Daycare Center reconciled balance at that day was 2,598.52.
How many kids do we have waiting for the winter round?
How many kids?
Yeah, you said we had
She said she's got a waiting list already, so, because she's asking about hiring teachers for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say she probably told us that in a meeting. Do you remember that? How many she said she had on that waiting list?
I don't remember the number, but she did have one.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 20 kids maybe.
And she's going to start having a report. You told me that.
Oh, yeah, she's gonna start doing your report just like the other director, so you'll have the numbers.
Good, okay. Thank you.
Our financial report, our financial statement on the spreadsheet format here on page 88. Our general operating revenues of 19,271,412, and our expenditures for that date of 17,263,141. See, going across there, our capital outlay number, and that total 248,052. And the detail of that is on page 89. Gives you a breakdown of those numbers there. Our revenues, again, on our financial statement format, there on page 90. Revenue draw is 19,271,412, which is 86.32% of our estimated revenues. And our expenditures on page 93, 17,263,069, which is 77.82% of the budget at that date of 22,183,540. food service funds, revenues, and of course I've got the two funds. The Fund 240 is our regular food service fund, and our Fund 242 is the COVID-19 feeding and the summer feeding program both. Revenues, see, we, at this date, our 242 funds have 96,000, that's 2 months of revenues, and our expenditures of 60,000. I think we're breaking even on our costs. There'll be some more expenses this next month. Of course, our summer feeding program will go through June this month, so it's looking okay, not as bad as it did one time. Our financial statements there on the following pages, so you can see there are revenues for a regular food service fund 884, expenditures of 905. Our summer feeding program 96, expenditures of 60. Debt service funds revenues of 1,311,655, expenditures of 317. Same on financial statements. Got the projects fund, it's just our CD, turf replacement CD and everything, which is the balance there. Ranger Roundup, revenues of 126,000, expenditures of 282,000. And I've given you detail of those. There's a summary page there on page 107, 126,000. You can see the detail there on page 108. Expenditures of 282, and then on page 110 is the detail of the expenditures there. Which, like we talked before, the bulk is salaries for the teachers and the daycare directors and all that kind of stuff, and then the rent and operating expenses, and you can see this sort of adds up. We'll be having to come back to the budget amendment in probably July, because we've been making loans in our general operating fund to both the cafeteria and the Ranger Roundup, so those will have to be, before we end our year, we'll have to do a budget amendment to record those as a transfer out in our general operating fund to make it balance out with what we have. We had a payroll today, it goes out tomorrow. Had to make a transfer of 20,000 into the Ranger Roundup to make payroll, so it just sort of adds up. So I'll come up with some numbers on what we had before. One loan balance goes back to a small balance from last year, and then what we have added to it during the year to make up the differences.
So the summer feeding runs through the end of June then, so there's no program in July?
Yes, that's right.
When will our budget workshop be?
We will, that's something we'll need to set. Usually we have one, towards the end of July for a board meeting or something like that, and then for the 1st of August also. We're going to we'll talk into some tax stuff here in a minute, and we'll set that up. The next thing is we talked about our transportation system. Now, this seemed to be the best way to communicate where we are on that. This is starting on page 112. This is a budget inquiry report on what each column is here, so we have questions. This far left-hand column is the final actual numbers for 2018-19. This is what we ended last year with. And this is function 34 within our general fund. There, you can see the total. You got different categories there. You got payroll costs, you got contracted services, supplies and materials there at the bottom, and then other operating costs, and then capital outlay numbers there. You see on page 114 on that total there, included, we had bought a bus last year, a 59 passenger Bluebird bus, and we bought a minivan last year. So to make these sort of comparable numbers in totals, see that total expenditures in function 34 was $517,851. So what I did, I backed out there on paper there the capital outlay for the bus, and that came to a number of $424,801. And that's what we sort of used to compare to. Then the next column is our original budget for 2019 and 2020. You can see, go back to the previous page on 112, you can see the source of salaries decreased substantially. We have a $500, this is a payment for Top of Texas, to a person that picks up students out there, which is what we've done for a long. And then we have 3 bus drivers that stayed in our employment. You can see the numbers for that. And then there's a allocation of our transportation director that we've had, Linda Dotson's that, and she gets a stipend for that, and she still does transportation function stuff. So that's one of the salaries we have in there. Then these payroll expenses here, and then going on down to the bottom in services. Of course, the biggest item was the all award services. You can see this is basically their proposal last year is what we went with our original budget. The student transportation of $478.5, which I later adjusted that between student and special ed, so it's effectively the same number. And see, then the amended budget is in that column. So see, our budget for contracted services was $586. See, it went up, but our salaries went way down. And then those salaries at the very top, we get a credit for those against the charges with all board. So you can see at the bottom and on page 114, there's an offset there. There's an all aboard salary credit offset of $58,000. That's the offset that we get from all aboard for us paying those salaries, but actually they were driving for all aboard. Okay, then we have our normal reclassified transportation, which is what we charge out to all the different departments within athletics and function 13, 11, 12, 23, whatever we do based on what they use of us or a man. So that was sort of similar, and that number was $126,690. You can see at the end of the year, we budgeted $570,000. We have amended that in total. We moved things around. But our budget for function 34 is $570,702. And see, that's an increase over adjusted for 424 of, almost about $150,000 over and above what we had the year before. Okay, this coming year, the numbers, this column here in the middle called 2019-20 actual, this is what we paid to date so far. When this was reported, I imported right before I did it. So you can see the salaries there for those people. And at a certain point then, all awards not reimbursements for salaries because we're still paying those drivers because they're not really driving for them anymore. So that's going to have a no deal. But you can see all these numbers there. And one of the items there in the student transportation, see, they fulfilled about 75% of that number. And then we will have those costs hit in August when they start transporting kids. So we'll still be within this budget. But you can see in the student transportation number, the 426, we spent 316, which is pretty well proportional there on that. And then, but the extracurricular amount is one of the things that they proposed on us. We ended up, their proposal was $75,000, and we actually spent with them through the middle of March when everything shut down, $91,715. So that's a significant, and that's not even for a full year. So if we had to, and what I've done, I've grossed this up. Plus for the next year budget, I want to talk to you about the numbers I'm proposing for that at this point in time. Of course, we'll still have the salaries. We have those numbers are pretty much the same next year. And the services, all the other service amounts, they're proposing a renewal they're raising the rates of 3%. And we've got some, I don't know if Mr. Bell has shared that with them or not.
Here's what they sent me there.
So they're proposing a 3% increase over the rates. So for a full year number, for the student transportation, see, that number needs to be, 440,000 for students and 55,000 for special ed students there, between the two numbers there. And then the amounts for extracurricular on a full year basis with a 3% increase are projected to be 125,000. So that's where that number comes. And then we have, some other maintenance. They charge us for work they do on our white fleet. And we got the same amount there through March. See, they had billed us, or we paid them $8,312, and then plus a little odds and ends expenses. The rest of them are just, not a whole lot there, just odds and ends. But the bottom line is, see, we're proposing, or we were recognizing and then I've got a proposal to purchase a minivan for next year in there, $25,000, and that's included in that total there. We're in the next to the last column under next year recommended, and that total was $668,518, which includes a 25, which is comparable to what we had last year. And we did not buy a van this year, but of course we have a lot of vans that are high mileage, and I think we all agree that it's needed. So you're looking at comparing 668 over 424,000 from the end of last year, and so that gives you a feel for what we're paying for these costs and how much more we're paying with on board versus the otherwise. It's going to be 668 is almost 100,000 more than what our current budget is now.
$18.19 closing was when we were running the system?
Except for the month of August. You can see what we paid them for the month of August back on, and they were included $26,550 for students, and there in the middle there, and then special ed was in there too. So the extracurricular $6,723. So
How close would we have gotten to that 570, you think, Doug? If we would have won all year?
I think we would have we would have approached it, yeah. I think so. And you see, we got savings this year from what all the boards charging us because we suspended the payments. They're not billing us for anything more. And also we're saving on fuel. And our fuel, we got, the year before we spent $73,000 on fuel. We had $70,000 budgeted, and we spent up to date this year $45,000 on diesel fuel. And then we spent, we're tracking gasoline and diesel separately. So we got $12,000 on gasoline. So you can see those numbers there. So, we talked about the advantages, and there are advantages for them doing it, and there are disadvantages. I think the cost is a big disadvantage, but without a super strong person to run that department over there, it's not going to work good. I don't think we should even consider going back to that unless we had a strong person to run it out there that would take care of things.
But they're gonna have to hire a new guy for next year, right?
I think that's what I hear.
Yeah.
I think their manager here is being moved up in the company is what I've heard. But especially with the rates going up there, it's gonna be a decision to be made.
We locked in for 3 years on that anyway?
Now, it can be canceled within 30 or 60 days notice, either party.
So if they put the right person in place as a substitute for the guy that's doing it right now, we think it's gonna run as well as it has?
No, I'm talking about that person would have to be our employee if we were to go back and.
But you said they're replacing their guy too.
I think that's what I've heard.
To replace their guy, are they gonna advertise or try to find somebody here, or are they gonna bring somebody?
I do not know. I don't know. They
In
would
the
probably,
past, they've done both. They brought their guy down and they advertised here and didn't find anybody, so they left their guy.
I think the principals like it because they take care of a lot of discipline, but that's a lot of money just for that one advantage.
Yeah, well, it's not that one advantage. I mean, I don't think we're comparing apples.
Yeah, there's
Apples here.
there's
a lot of
other
advantages.
there's other advantages. There definitely is.
We've got discipline, we've got the cameras, we've got clean buses, we've got buses that make it. We've got radios. I mean,
It's a long time we asking for a rate increase, though.
huh?
Long time we asking for a rate increase.
I agree with that.
Have they been able to hire bus drivers? I mean, their signage around town, has that been a struggle for them to get bus drivers as well, Doug, or do you keep up with that part?
I think they had enough drivers as far as I know. I do know that they hire our employees and our coaches to drive for their activity strips, and I think that's would be an advantage. I think that's all.
Nice benefit for coaches and teachers to make a little extra.
Which they paid indirectly.
Yes.
But,
I think it's been good across the board, just, too pricey.
Yeah, well, I haven't signed it, that's why the thing's still blank there.
You know, really the only, when we took the survey last year with all the principals and coaches, the only complaint we had was from our football coach, and it was a valid complaint. We had a coach driving a band bus one time, he didn't make it to the ball game, because of the storms, so, but we were just shorthanded on drivers at the time. So.
And they didn't balk it all when you told them we were gonna pay for the rest of the year, so. Maybe you tell them we're not taking a 3% increase.
And one thing you have to be telling that, we need to be ready to go looking for one.
Or maybe there's a middle negotiating point.
Like
a point and a half, you know. Is it, might be worth asking the question, is this written in stone, or what is it a little? Yeah. Cause we had an appraisal meeting last week, and
Yeah, what it is.
no, 6% down from the last numbers. Yeah, it's supposed to go up. Down, so.
Historically, those little May numbers go up.
Yeah, not this year.
No, county got a big wake up call too from them.
I think proposing 1.5% instead of 3%. We work percent.
There's the question to ask them, and we see who will.
See what they say.
Did y'all have any questions on the numbers or particular account number there? You know, we still pay the fuel, we still pay for the insurance on the tanks and expenses like that, and then our maintenance on our white fleet, we pay that, and then those offsets on those other things.
But Doug, you're not saying there's things here we should be negotiating on?
No, I'm not saying that.
Well, I did notice on 2018, 2019, we took out the $93,000 bus we purchased, but on the 2020-21 budget, we left in the $50,000 for new vehicles. You know, new vehicles to the fleet, that's gonna be reoccurring no matter which one.
It's just 25.
Oh, yeah, what's the second 25?
It's a total.
Oh, that's just a total, I thought it was 225.
No,
Okay.
it's just one. And that's comparable to to the 22.9
Of the,
of 18-19. So.
okay.
Do bids just go until they run out and use it all, or is there a time shelf life for a fuel bid? we bid 8,500 for X number of gallons. It's just, I mean, it's whether we use it in 2 months or 3 months.
I think,
So you're presenting, not recommending here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You just keep the food. Keep the cost.
Good.
no,
Well, thank you. That's the information we wanted. We wanted to sit side by side and you got it.
Y'all ready to move on to this tax projection bill?
Yes, sir. Go, continue.
Sort of the mechanics of the tax process.
Where's low as usual?
Yeah, it sort of is. I sort of got the highlights here for you.
So in layman's terms,
I'll sure try. I've worked with this stuff, but I'm not what you'd call an expert on this one. I'll be honest. Sir? This is sort of the high points of the new tax process for this year. The first one is, it talks about, the M&O tax rate is three components. There's tier 1 and then two categories of tier 2, level 1 and level 2. The first one is the basic, compressed tax rate, 93 cents, and then you have the tier 2, level 1, which is the golden pennies. And golden pennies means that for that tax effort, you also receive state funding based on that too. So it's like a double benefit of funds. So, and then there's tier 2 copper pennies, which just the only thing you get is the tax effort on that. You don't get it. So that's sort of this first page, and then it gets into the little definitions. I gave you the pages that would sort of explain. Tier 1 refers to the foundation entitlement. It's based upon your district characteristics, student characteristics, your number of students, which in our case, our biggest driver of our funding, of course, which y'all know is our average daily attendance. The basic allotment per student is in the general is 6,160 per student, and then the compressed rate is 93 cents. Okay, tier 2 refers to the enrichment, and it goes through the kind of, I won't read every line item, but it starts out with that basic number of 93 cents, and then you get to add back the enrichment amounts that you've chosen. And how is tier 1 funding determined? This is on the third slide there. Sort of a little overview of that is basically, there's funding formulas and weights on specific things. Special ed receives weighted adjustments, and career technology CTE classes are weighted, and you get funding based on those deals. And then an overview of tier 2. To receive tier 2, you must tax at 93 cents, and then there's 2 focuses of tier 2. And a district can go up to a maximum of up to 17 cents in tier 2. Okay, that's just sort of an overview. Now, for our particular school district, there's a template here this is like the third page here. And it talks about this in this later section here. Our district's total, our tax rate from last year was 97 cents. And goes through, we have actually we were at $1.04 previously, so we were guaranteed those 4 golden pennies that we carried over for years. Remember when it was $1, and then we were at $1.04, and then a component of that 97 cents we included our 4. But we have a choice this year of carrying over our 4 cents, our golden pennies, or we can we can add one golden penny to it you can see it, but it has to be an unanimous vote of all the school board. And see, the tax rate is going to be compressed anyway. So basically we have two options there at the very bottom of that page. That you can, with approval of the board with the fifth golden penny, our tax rate would be 96.64. Without the extra golden penny, it would be 0.9564, which is still going to be below the 97 cents. With the golden penny added, our tax rate is going to drop from 97 cents to 0.9664.
So we wouldn't be going up on tax.
The taxes will not go up. It will still be compressed.
I thought we could add 2 golden pennies this year. So.
You can only add one without an election.
Yeah, okay.
Without an election, the board can add one just with a unanimous vote.
Especially considering the tax rate would still be lower than our tax rate last year.
Yes, it would be. And then what's this going to, here on the next page, I went back to my template for last year. You can see basically you're talking about, think of it as 1 cent equals basically 1% of our value. So see, in last year's numbers that we set our budget on, this is in this template, under our current amount, it was 97 cents. If 1 penny of tax effort amounts to 124,105, which is exactly 1% of the value, and then it goes through a little bit of a formula for a collection rate. So it's basically, in a nutshell, it's 1% of our values. Now, if our values drop down from 1,257,000, say it goes to 1,000,000, 1% or 1 penny would be worth $100,000.
Alan, what percentage were they saying we're going to have a reduction on? 6%?
See, if you could say it went down to 800,000, basically you're talking about $80,000 spread out over all the taxpayers. And then with the golden pennies, you're going, and I don't have the number of what it's going to, because you haven't got the template, we don't have the values and all that to plug in. But when we were before, we would generate the extra state money would be more than the amount of tax revenue. Sometimes it was double it. So potentially at 124,000 last year, we would have made, several $100,000 more in state funds for the golden pennies. So we're not just talking about just the tax money. We're talking about the extra state funds that you get for that golden penny. That's why they call it the golden penny.
Yeah, I remember at one point we were looking, before they compressed the tax rates, we were looking at trying to get two more pennies, and it was going to hit the taxpayers for about $250,000, but it was going to hit our budget for about $600,000.
Yes, exactly.
We were looking at that a couple of years ago. So,
and I don't have that number, but when we're going to get into that here pretty hot and heavy. It's about when we get our numbers and we'll start projecting our revenues and that kind of thing there. But just think of it in a nutshell. 1% of our values is what we're talking about. 1 cent is just 1%. And here's the legal stuff. They sent out a notice here on this next section is the implementation rate of the compression is the mandates, and this is dated June 18th. So this is hot off the presses. And the thing that's, I'm not going to read all this stuff, but there's one thing I want to point out. On the next page, the tax survey opens July 18th, and it has to be completed and finished by August 1st. Normally, when we do that tax survey, it would open in June or whatever, and it would go all the way to August. So they're cutting it off August 1st. So we have to have all this tax number in, and then it goes through, the state has to sort of go through this certification of what your tax rate will be, and then before you can adopt the tax rate.
Why they do that? Why they shorten it? Why they close the window?
They close the window because it gives the state time to approve these numbers, and there's some appeal procedures in there too. in our case, I don't think it's pretty cut and dry for us. It's just one of those two choices, you know. But we'll have to certify when you submit that, you have to submit, by July 25th, certified values for 2019 and also for 2020. And then what we do, we project our collections. I know that's what we used to always do. I'm sure that's going to be in there. And then also there's an amount of value estimated to be lost if we had a local option homestead election, which I think we don't have that. But there'll be some of those things. But I was not aware of that until I put this report for y'all together, that window there only opens, you've got till 18th August 1 to get all that done. And then it talks about appeal process. And then once the tax rate is approved by TDA, then you can go ahead and proceed to adopting your rate. And it talks about this number 9, this Excel template. That's the template that I've included right here. That's what I've included. That's the one that they're talking about in that deal.
So we don't take the golden penny. If we didn't take the golden penny, where's the tax rate for the coming year?
It would be 0.9564.
Last year.
With the golden pennies, 0.9664, which is a 1 cent difference. Now, ballpark, you could say that election would maybe make us $300,000, $100,000 in tax money and $200,000 in
State money.
state money.
I think you're probably in the right.
I think I'm in the ballpark of that. I don't have the number.
That's comparable to the way it was in the past.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway. I just.
So you get 4 with how many golden pennies you get for election? If you have an election.
If you have an election, then that's up to 7.
Yes, up to 17
Up to
cents.
7 if you have an election, but 8. I just don't think we'll get many more opportunities to add a penny to them in old budget and still go down on the overall tax rate at the time.
Yeah, the tax rate's going down too. And then you're locked into that golden penny down the road too.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to go through this.
Again, this is the time you can do it without an election.
Exactly. It's one-time deal.
When do we have to do it?
You have to, when we adopt our tax rate, and I think for what we submit in that survey, I think we probably ought to have maybe a consensus of the board at the next meeting, maybe. I mean,
The reason he's presenting this, guys, to give you information so we can think and feel it.
Thinking ahead.
And the other one, probably what I need to do is call Fred and get the actual wording. Resolution of how to do that, so that it's ready in case we decide we want to do that.
but without boring you on a lot of 30 or 40 page booklet or something, I think I've hit the high points of how the tax adoption process will work. And
I think we have to be careful how we say this. I mean, you've got a lot of people in the community that are hurting right now, so I'm not.
I think headline raise taxes.
Yeah, the headline is up here raising taxes. I mean, guys, I don't want my name associated with it. If we can actually portray it as there's a small reduction in taxes. My gripe, as you heard down with the appraisal board, is that we haven't actually addressed appraisal values. That's what's getting everybody equity rather than rates.
Our tax rate has always been one of the lowest in the states.
As long as we're not wasting money, but again, we mentioned earlier that it's a bad time for your bus contractor to be raising rates. And here's your town that's happily unemployed, and you've got a bunch of people that are out of business on Main Street. I don't want to be doing that. But if it's an opportunity and the rate goes down, I don't see any danger. We have to make sure the message is right.
yeah, well, the rate's definitely still going down no matter what.
Yeah. That is the time to do it without being a burden on taxpayers or taxes won't go up. And the big thing is the extra money you get back from the state. And 1% on a $100,000 house, if you wanted to look at it as a hike, would be $10.
Yes.
We just have to be very, very cognizant of the message that we portray.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, nobody wants to
Raise that.
Yeah.
And with I guess with valuations going down, actual tax cost is going down too. I mean, for some people.
That's on the minerals. They haven't locked in, they have not locked in real property.
Real property is still to be determined.
And that's housing.
Yeah.
And that's where everybody's gonna see it.
Estimates are up.
What's that?
The estimates are up, I think, now this last month.
All right, well, I think everybody's got something to think about.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to director's reports. Okay, starting out with maintenance report.
Mr. Kemp is zooming in, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him unmuted. There he is. We see him.
Yeah, I see that.
All right, you're still muted though.
Now try it. How's that?
Yeah, there we go. You're good.
Okay.
You looking down, what's going on here?
Search for this. Go ahead, Alan.
Okay, I didn't hear a question.
They're just looking over your report. Do you have anything you want to say about your report?
Oh, no, I don't have anything to add, guys.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Okay. Moving on to communications.
Okay. I don't have anything really to add to my report. Do you want me to go into the learning management system now or wait till later?
I'm gonna wait.
Get it now? Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Okay, give me just a second. I've got to switch a couple things around here.
Guys, this is that deal that's in the front of your packets, that Gabor Communications, and it is a system, a platform for if we have to do distance learning.
Is that a recommendation or?
No, this is just showing you about what it's gonna cost us.
Just the same system that was being proposed on KYE yesterday?
Yes, that I discussed a little bit on KUI, yes. The commissioner today multiple times mentioned learning management systems because he was talking in reference to how you track attendance for those students that are doing remote learning. And he said one of the best ways is with your learning management system, and because then your kids are checking in with that on a daily basis. The last 9 weeks of the school year, we had multiple platforms, multiple places. Different campuses were doing things different ways. From the perspective of a parent with multiple students, that became very frustrating. That was one of the things that I heard from parents was I have to log in this place for this kid and this place for this kid. And a learning management system, whether it's this one or any of the others that we've looked at out there, most of them offer pretty much similar type things, but that's, the single platform for everybody, for the parent, for the students, for the teachers, for the administrators. And it's all collected in one place. Now, from within that, the teachers can go to multiple places. If there's things that they have used in the past, they're still able to use them. They just communicate it to the students and family through here. It's an academic hub that controls it all. Blended and online. Learning management systems didn't just pop up because of COVID-19. They've been around for a while, because we've done blended learning particularly at the high school for a while. Also self-paced learning, which is a big part of what the commissioner talked about today, was some self-paced stuff where teachers lay it out and the kids work on it at their pace. Local library, state and district reporting, it ties to the TEKS. And the top two contenders that we're looking at are the only ones that actually import the TEKS in. That lets the teachers match it up to what they're required to be teaching so that we make sure we're covering what we're supposed to cover. We can also use it for teacher certification and training. We can do some in-service stuff. If we can do it from teachers to kids, we can do it from administrators to teachers. It's a central hub for all of it. The Wisdom LMS integrates with your student information system. Now, all of them do. They don't integrate as well with Texas, the TXEIS information system that we use, as they do with some of the other student information systems. And that's just a factor of Texas doesn't play well with others as well. But it does allow importing of the student information. The biggest problem is all of these things will export grades, but they won't with Texas yet. But Gabbert is working directly with Texas to get theirs there, and they will probably be the first one to have that integration. Teachers can use this and grade their quizzes. It will automatically grade them for them. And then once that integration with Texas is there, it will post the grades. It's going to give the teachers less time in the evenings dealing with, they're going to have more personal time they'll get back. The system doesn't care whether you're on a laptop or a tablet or a desktop or a phone or an Xbox. It will work on all of the above. If it's got a browser on it, you can work with it. And LTI certified just means that it works with some of the other apps that are out there that teachers are already using. From the student perspective, one hub, doesn't care what device it's on. Or they can organize their courses. You'll see in a little bit what the student sees. All of their classes pop up and it shows if they've got homework due. They've got a calendar out on the side that shows when a project is due. Also can be integrated with the district calendar so that they can see the events that are coming up that they might, open house or things like that. It gives them a grade forecaster. They can look and see what it looks like their grade's going to be at the end of the semester. They can also see how they compare with the rest of the class. For the parents, they've got a family calendar. Okay, Johnny's got this project due here. Susie's got an open house tomorrow. Billy's got a project due on Wednesday. They can see all of that in one little calendar. They can look at the course content themselves and help the kids if they need to. Monitor their progress. Internal communication with the teachers about how their student is doing. Self-registration, that's a pretty big deal. Our current grade book, getting the parents connected to it is a nightmare. It is complicated. They have to have a code that we have to pass along to them, and sometimes they get it, sometimes it takes multiple times. With this system, it's just like any other thing that you've gone on to and clicked, I forgot my password. They can register themselves into it. Multiple languages. It will translate into the language that they need to help them understand what's going on. Class average comparison. Again, they can see how little Johnny does compared to the other class students in his class. Custom grade notifications. This is you've got a student that is a straight A student. You probably want to know when he gets a B on something. But you may have another student out there that you're just happy if he's passing. You probably only want notifications when he gets a D or even a failing grade, maybe where you want to be notified. Depends on the student and the parent's preference. They can customize that themselves. For the teachers, I've already mentioned auto grading. That's the thing that sells it to the teachers. They put out a quiz. If it's a multiple choice or a true false or something that can have a key that you upload the key, boom. Kid takes the course, takes the test. As soon as he punches send on the quiz, it grades it, and the teacher already knows the grade. Some assessment settings where they can determine how it does. Snapshots of how the kids are. Content will carry over. This is a big deal. The webinar talked about this year you build the house. Next year you're just dusting the floors, because this year you've put all the content that you're going to use, and teachers don't reinvent everything every year. They recycle things, and they might tweak them for the next year or whatever, but the content's already going to be stored there, and they just pull it up, do what they need to do to make it work this year, and then send it out to the kids. Rescheduler is a nice thing. Things happen. You plan to have this test due today, and then we have a tornado tonight, or something happens and we're out of school. We have a snow day. They can just delay everything by a day, and it just goes in there and fixes it. The content is aligned. They can work with their PLCs. You can even set up PLCs with teachers not in this district, and they can work together, collaboration on what they need to do. And for the administrators, well, the best thing is, the teachers are bought into it. The administrators are in the know about what's going on in the classrooms. They get their reports. They have communication. They can communicate out to the teachers or out to the parents through this system. It will simplify some of the scattered communications that we have. They can monitor progress. A teacher can go in and masquerade, or an administrator can go in and masquerade as the teacher and see things from their perspective and see what's going on in that classroom without ever having to set foot in the classroom. District roles, there's several different roles, from the superintendent to the assistant sup of curriculum instruction down to campus administrators, various roles and what they can and cannot access there. And you can start doing more planning, and basically you can get just an overall pulse of the district by looking at what's on here. Let me skip through things. It's self-paced. Students can do their work as they want to. That's an option that the teachers can set up if it's something that they want self-paced. Support. This is the big thing that makes me lean towards Gabbert Communications, because they're already the company that we use for our website maintenance, and they hands down have the best support system, the best customer support system. I can pick up the phone right now and I can call Teddy Gabbert, the owner of the company, and he'll say, "Oh, hi, Darren, how are you?" We have that kind of connection with these people. The other companies are big, huge corporations, and you're not going to get that kind of personal relationship. And, if I have a problem, I get an answer today, and not send an email and sometime this week somebody will get around to it. They've got all kinds of resources. They'll do training. There's multiple training that's built into the package when you purchase this. Here's the teacher dashboard. This just kind of gives you a look. Teachers can look at the different subjects that they're teaching, and in each subject they can see, okay, I've got some homework that's been completed I need to look at, or someone's got a question. It's all right there on their dashboard. Plus they've got a calendar out on the side of when their things are due. Student dashboard, same thing. They're looking at what the students, they're looking at what classes they have and when their projects are due, and a calendar over on the side to look at it that way. It's just one way to help organize the education and get us all on one page. Now there's still plenty of opportunity for individualism within this, but to the parents, they're more connected with their students, they're more connected with the district, and they do it all in one place. That's what makes something like this worthy. And like I said, student learning management systems have been around since before COVID-19, but this has really brought them into the forefront because of the opportunities that it presents for them. And we just are looking into it. The price tag, you've seen the proposal from Gabbard. The others are in the same ballpark, similar. We're looking into a couple of different options, but it's something that I feel is going to be almost a requirement with this blended, scattered system that it sounds like we're going to have when school starts in August. It's not going to be everybody just shows back up and we go back to normal. I don't see normal being the normal when we get back into school, and something like this will help us to avoid some of that lost communication that we had last spring. Any questions or thoughts?
Well, you mentioned you build the house this year and the next year you just have to dust it because you don't have to start over.
Right.
So even if we go with this, it's not an immediate answer to if we had to go all distance learning this year, but it starts putting us in the process.
Right, yeah. And
Aaron, you said it doesn't integrate with everything we're currently doing. Would the idea be to eventually replace everything we're currently doing with this system?
No, it supplements the system. It just, Texas, our student information system, where all our students' names and everything, it'll import that part. It does not integrate the part where it exports the grades. It does with other student information systems that other districts use. Most everybody in Region 16 is on Texas and in other places. But there are other student information systems out there that integrate better with this one or any of the other options that are out there. It's just a problem that we have because of the system that we use with Texas. It just leaves that last final piece of the puzzle. It has to be done manually until they get to playing with us, and that's on the horizon. So,
do these guys competition? Do they integrate any better?
No, that's the thing. Texas doesn't integrate with any of them right now. It's a Texas issue, not a system issue. But I know that the Gabbard people are working directly with Texas on this very closely, and I really feel like they're going to be the first ones to be integrated with them when the time comes. And it's not an if, it's a when. And it, could be by the time school starts, or it could be later in the year, or maybe not at all this school year. It just depends on.
What happens if it's not by the time school starts?
It just means that the teachers have to manually post the grades. That's the only difference. Is it will still calculate the grades for them and everything, but then the teachers still have to manually post them just like they do right now. Eventually, it's going to eliminate that step, but that step exists right now. But it would no matter which one of these systems we go with, because the problem is with Texas.
You said they're all in the same ballpark. Have you priced everybody?
I've priced 2 of them, and in the course of my investigation, the others are out of the ballpark. The price is out of the ballpark, and another one I know the services they provide are not comparable with these, so there's not any point in even getting to the price on it.
Can we see what the out of the ballpark number is? I don't know.
Yeah.
Usually it's trade-off for things.
There's a trade-off. I called after Darren told me about this. I asked Darren, I said, is there another school that's using this company right now in our area? There wasn't. But Petrolia, Texas, which is by Wichita Falls, I believe, knows Lord. I did call that superintendent and talk to him, and I said, did you do shopping? And he said, yeah, I checked them all. I checked Canvas and all that stuff. I chose to go with these people because they're school people. They're ex-principals, ex-superintendents, the ones who actually attended this, so they're school friendly. But basically, when COVID-19 hit, he bought this platform and said he had no problems at all with parents, things not getting across,
any of those things. My big deal, guys, now is, with what we heard today, is we're gonna have distance learning. And we don't want it to be like it was in the spring. We want to have a system that holds the kids accountable and we can continue school just like we were. The other question is, okay, let's say we're just doing it for 2 or 4% of our population, but let's say COVID-19 hits again and they kick us out of school for 3 months again, or 2 months. Are we ready now? Because it's going to be shame on you because you had to plan and you get something in place. So this is kind of one of our plans, to get something in place.
And that could happen like that with our state leadership and the situation that is developing. The next time we won't have 2 weeks notice for it. It will be, starting next Monday, you're all doing distance learning. And if we've got this in place, then, and the parents are already using it, then it's just a seamless move to distance learning.
So we're just giving you color here, but the other thing that probably I think we need to do is, if we're going to get a system, I think we do need to get a system, you know, we need to do this because we're going to have to get our teachers trained and people trained how to use this system. And we're going to have to do this pretty quick.
So your recommendation would be to purchase the system?
I like this system, what I've heard. We've already worked with them, we already have a relationship with them. Darren has told me that the service is very good, and I think even if they're a little bit higher, I would pay a little bit more for service than not service. And they're out of Durant, Oklahoma, and the other company we looked at was from somewhere in California.
So you're probably going to be bringing this to us for the July meeting.
Yeah, I'll probably bring this to you for the July meeting, but anyway, I'm just saying, guys, we're really in a bad situation after we found out that there will be distance learning. Because now we got to plan for it. And it's expensive, but I don't know the.
Is it the 23,300 number or is it 24,400?
It's the 23,000 and 3,500 of that is the one-time setup fee. It's 19 whatever it was.
19,855.
Yeah, that's the recurring every year amount.
And that's counted based on 2,288 too, right?
It's based on 2,200.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
this is based on your ADA. That's how they charge.
right. And
We're below that number.
it is actually $100 higher because they didn't calculate for 6 campuses. Apparently 1 through 5 is $1,000 for this one portion of it, and the 6th campus kicked it up $100. I joked with her when she told me that today. Oh, that's a deal breaker, but I don't really think $100 is going to be a deal breaker.
Might let her know we've got a different superintendent now too.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh yes, yeah.
That's a little unnerving when they miss something like that.
Well, nobody's told them. That would be my job.
That was the,
this is a lot of money
research on
for
their
2 or 4% of our kids. I mean, if that's all we were doing it for, but that is not the issue. The issue is if they shut us down again, then you have something. I don't want to be caught saying you knew this could happen, but you didn't put anything in place.
Well, if you're comfortable that you could eventually get online distance learning to a higher quality, not replacing classroom face-to-face, but something was more comparable and you could actually get some more out of this. You said you had teacher, I'm not big on committees, as the superintendent's aware, but you said something about teacher buy-in? Have we reviewed this with the teachers? Because I mean, that's critical. That's going to be critical. What goes on there.
That's kind of the next step. We kind of wanted to make sure you guys were on board with us even looking at that. But I'm confident that they're going to, having been through what they went through last spring, and then seeing this, and where they're all going to jump on board is when it says it grades my papers for me. And
yeah, I'm not sure that's the biggest thing in my mind, but yeah.
My mind is parents feeling comfortable with their kids
that's
still
where
getting
it
educated.
fell down, right? I mean, that's where it fell down.
That's where it fell down.
Right. Letting the kids do something else in the evening. So.
but in terms of teacher buy-in was what I was referring to.
Yeah, but I mean, teacher and principal buy-in, it's been sent out to the principal. We've had a little feedback from the principals on it.
But yeah, you're right, that's what we need to do before we
Yeah, I
spend
think I
some
would like to
money.
hear that next meeting. If you're gonna come to your one-on-one decision here, I would like really on this deal, I would like some teacher input.
We can do that.
I would like a system that'll be highly useful in the classroom, but can easily transition to distance learning
And that's what we're
if needs be. That way the tools that the students are learning on remain the same. You know, maybe you're not going to the physical building, but if we had to, and like everyone else, I hope we don't have to.
I'm a little bit bothered that you've only confined one of the school districts that's using this.
State of Texas is covered
No,
up on their
there's
map. Is that
It
just over?
shows that, but it doesn't show the
Oklahoma?
panhandle. I did look at that, but it doesn't show much of the panhandle.
No, it's
does
not
it?
much, I mean,
I did look at
Spots on
State's
there.
covered up. It's covered up with blue dots, so.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, there ought to be, if there's a blue dot associated with the school district, there ought to be a bunch of people who can testify to this, whether this thing's effective.
All those blue dots are people that are Gabbert customers, mostly for their website services.
Okay.
But as far as that have gone with the Wisdom service, most of them are kind of at the stage where we are. They'd already been talking about it. They were aware of it, but it didn't become urgent until last March. And now they're all jumping on board. But, and Petrolia was basically the closest. It wasn't the only one we could find. It was just the closest. And so that's who we talked to. He gave me several other references.
So have they actually used this system live in schools?
Yes.
Question jumps out as soon as you say that.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's been in use in other places. In their big webinar, which I gave you the link to, they talk about United ISD down in the Houston area. It's one of the largest districts in the state, and they did their due diligence and did a thorough vetting of Wisdom and Canvas and Blackboard. The top and
Blackboard's the one we're already using part-time?
no, we've not used Blackboard.
A lot of us do Google. I think they're
Google Classroom is what we've primarily used, but they vetted it, and they had a committee of like 120 people look at it, and when it was all said and done, 89 out of the 120 were hands down Wisdom is the way to go. They were that convinced of it, and that's a big, huge school district, and they've been using it for a long time. But then Petrolia gives us the other perspective from a small school district.
So do we know why the other school districts are picking other systems?
I can do it. Canvas is another one, and I found this out. The service centers are promoting Canvas, so my guess is they're getting a little kickback to promote it. Here's my guess.
Yeah.
Gee whiz.
But, I mean, a lot of it has to do with Gabbert being a growing company. I mean, they had a third that many dots when I first got on board with them 6 years ago. And they've grown. And the reason they've grown is because they're good and they talk to you, and they're education people. Almost every single one of their employees has some connection to education. Either they've been in education themselves, or their spouses are in education, or they're from educator families. And so they understand how educators work. All of those others out there are just selling a website. And so there's a difference in the company, and that's why I'm so sold on them. And you know, and if there's something that the website doesn't do that I want it to do, I'll talk to them and they'll show me how to make it do it. And they're good people.
Mrs. Erickson, I know you didn't come prepared to speak.
I'll speak.
Do you have an opinion
Yes.
that you would like to share with?
I have
Everybody
a poker
watching.
face. I'm sure you saw all over my face.
Right.
Well, and the reason why, like one of your questions is why are people jumping on to this? I mean, I think I've stated it several times. COVID, we never had to have something like this.
And yeah, we had Google Classroom, we use it out of convenience sake, but not out of necessity. And so being someone who has used Blackboard, which has been the common thing for years, and Ronnie probably could say the same thing, it's awful. It's not user friendly, it's not kid friendly. I had to use it in grad school, and it's just not a good platform to use with kids. And then you have Canva. I've tried using Canva before, I never liked it. And I don't know about you, but from what everything Garen's saying, that it's a one-stop shop. It sounds like it's going to be user-friendly, something that the parents can use, the students can use. Because as much as I love Google Classroom, there are some confusing aspects. I'm teaching summer school right now, and their parents don't have access to it. Like my students do, but parents can't just get on there and check assignments. They have to go to their kids' account. Anyways, but to answer your question of why are they jumping on this now, how can we trust this? I mean, again, these platforms have always just been out of convenience and not necessity. And so I'd be interested to see too, like, more about it and getting teacher input on it. But
Does this run on their server or ours?
Theirs.
It's all on there.
Amazon's actually. Yeah, they have huge space with AWS.
Just looking at extra expenses if we had to
No,
build a new server.
no, it's all there. Cloud-based.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst. All right, Mr. Clark, do you have anything you want to add to your safety report, or just what you have in your safety report?
Just what's in there. We're slowly making progress on getting those door locks installed, and I'm hoping to kick them in gear a little bit more with a phone call to the boss tomorrow.
All right.
We have 10 out of 25 doors installed, and that's been over the course of the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I want to get them finished before school starts.
Absolutely.
And
A lot of downtime.
yeah, it is, and we've
Get that done.
it's been a pretty high price tag project for us to have to wait as much as we have.
Darren?
Yes.
Darren, another question on the social media security, or what we're moving with that, or how we're moving. I think that was a question I had.
Well, the question I had was just really on social media policies and how we've got a variety of platforms. I think Darren mentioned it, and I'm not sure why we're using so many. I think you said something about that.
Well, I would like to, this has been one of my summer projects, is to kind of rein back in our social media. We have, under our domain, about 31 different Facebook pages.
Why?
Because we thought it was a really good idea to let each teacher communicate directly with their student. It has fragmented the audience to the point that even if we can get them to just share their information to a campus page and then the district page and get it down to just that, that is my goal. And but there's a few individual organizations like band and choir and things like that it does make sense for them to have their own way to communicate and promote, but not every single classroom. And this will help eliminate that, because they will have that ability to have that direct communication with
the remote program.
Yeah, they can use that. One of the pieces of this is a communications piece where teachers can talk to their parents that way, and yet it's not just
Maybe we
out
can get
there.
rid of Facebook pages altogether.
What?
Maybe we can get rid of Facebook pages altogether.
Yeah.
No, I don't recommend that, because they're a marketing tool for us. That's very good marketing tool. But we do need to rein them in a little bit, and because there's too many individuals out there that have control of it, a lot of times information doesn't get to me, and if I don't happen to check that page, I miss out on things because they posted it there and it never went anywhere else.
I think consolidation is a good idea, but I still think it would be helpful for everybody involved. Here's some people, just that we review our policies and have a stated policy for social media. It
Yes.
makes sense, and it would, I think,
We have
other things.
We do have them, but they need to be updated.
They need to be updated.
And and cleaned up considerably and brought into today's situation. One of the other things, as long as we're talking about this, there's a service we use called Class Intercom that allows me to post to multiple sites at the same time. It also has options where I can start allowing students to create content that will go on our pages, but it has to be, I have to click it before it actually goes on there so that we can control that content, because student created content is going to be more relevant to students than what a 56-year-old ex-disc jockey is going to tell them. I mean, but you still have to have that protection on it, because I'm not just going to go hand them the username and password to my Facebook account and let them go wild. But yet, we can use it as an education tool to teach them how to use social media as a marketing tool.
Yeah, I think that's all good. I just think you need to have a policy in place before you do all this, right?
Right. I agree.
Okay, Mr. Throgmorton, technology, just another to add to your report.
One little thing, I'll be sending you an email tomorrow about some training that I got set up for you guys, and it counts, I don't know, I think Mary Bell said it counts towards, but.
Yeah, so the training he's gonna provide will count for y'all cybersecurity training that y'all are required to do. So once, y'all do that training with him, I'll have y'all sign a paper. He'll let me know that y'all did it, and then I'll have y'all sign a sheet, and then I'll input y'all the hours.
I thought we already did a cybersecurity.
No, this one's the new one, the cybersecurity, and,
That one went through all passwords and go do dumb things. Just kind of a
Something
update.
changed.
yeah, there's something new.
I'm
And then, of
sure.
course, that child abuse. Did y'all see that link for that in the Small Blogger House last week? Been a while.
I was gone.
Y'all were surprised, like, what is going on? But, the child abuse training also as well. But if you do the training that he's gonna send, that'll give y'all 1 hour credit.
And it's 1 hour, so.
From a Wi-Fi hotspot standpoint, everything's set up. If we have to go do something like this, you get everything that you plan around town.
Yeah, we have left all of the stuff in place. We can go around and collect up all of our parts just so they're already there and ready to be turned back on.
We have added public Wi-Fi at all our locations as well. And all the local ones as well as Oklahoma Panhandle and wherever it's not real fast, 5 down, half meg up, or something like that. But we've added that at almost every location. So.
I talked to Devlin Francis at PTCI, and he said several of the churches had upped their bandwidth when they did that, and some of them decided to keep it up. So, like, they would have way better than 5.
Ours is in combination with Land Lakes, that they helped us with all the equipment to get it set around separate from our network, because that was our concern. And rather than depending on the location, what kind of bandwidth you have going in, different at Huntoon than you do at the main office.
When we have power outages like last week, that just causes problems in places besides our property. So
Come to my office. Big generator. I help you out.
well, that wouldn't be for the school, that'd be for churches.
Wireless, straight across. Pop it up to where a bird drops when it flies through the screen. It'll work.
Okay.
That's powerful. We had one like that about 10 years ago. And we had to shut it down.
Any words?
We got chat.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Throgmorton. On to campus reports. Does Ms. Wilson have anything to add to the Libby Pena Martin campus?
She does not.
Okay. Perryton High School. Mr. Bench?
Is not online.
Nobody there. There's the numbers that we were talking about earlier.
Still got your own flipper. Okay. Perryton Junior High, Mr. Garcia?
is not online.
Okay. On to Williams, Mr. Gates.
I suspect
Everything's
I can
good,
guess.
well,
I suspect everything's great at Williams.
All right. All right, I saw Mrs. Beats on for Rob.
Yes.
Everything is good at Wright. We want the wisdom system. I really like the wisdom system. I'm in favor.
Mrs. Beats says, I am in favor of the program. My teachers that are watching like it too. Most districts all over the country use some sort of program like this, and I think we are behind in not having a district wide program. Really like the tech support. Other districts are choosing other systems out of sheer popularity. Anything to add to that, Mrs. Speaks?
Other than that, all is good.
Make sure.
All right. Thank you.
And I have already received an email from one of her teachers wanting to be on that committee.
Okay.
So.
Sounds good. Okay, Perryton Kenter, Mr. Felix.
He has nothing to add.
All right. That concludes campus reports. On the consent agenda items, we have minutes of the prior meeting.
Motion. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the prior meeting as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Okay. On to district and action items. Consideration and possible action on the recommendation of an assistant superintendent of instruction and curriculum. Mr. Morales, do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, I recommend that we hire Dr. Maria Gomez Rock as our assistant superintendent for the instruction and curriculum.
So, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to hire Dr. Maria Gomez Rock as assistant superintendent. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consideration and possible action on recommended stipends and salary schedules.
I recommend that we take action on those salary schedules that were presented earlier.
Those will be made available to the public. Okay. This time I would consider a motion to approve the recommended stipends and salary schedule presented. Got a motion? And a second. I have a motion and a second to approve the stipends and salary schedules as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consideration and possible action on recommended personnel for hire, transfers, and changes.
Again, I recommend that we do the transfers and changes that we mentioned earlier, and those will be presented.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we have a list of the recommended personnel for hire, transfers, and changes that will be made to the public upon request. At this time, I would consider a motion to approve those recommendations. A motion?
Second.
And a second. All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the recommended personnel for hire, transfers, and changes. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. This meeting is adjourned.